everyone, and welcome to Eastern Honeys. As you may notice from the frog in my throat, it's been a hell of a season recording. It's been incredible, and even more incredible is our guest today, Darren Tsang. Welcome!
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming to Eastern Honeys HQ. I've heard of you through the grapevine, through ears, through the community. Your legend precedes you. And to quote Isabel's brother, you are a pillar of the ESEA community in the UK. So we're...
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You hate this? You're squirming?
I'm not sure what people say about me, isn't it? So yeah, I hope they're good things. And yeah, I'm glad to be here, very thankful to be invited here,
So to kick off, as ever, Isabel will read out your bio and we'll get into the combo.
Darren Tsang, also known as Humothy, is a London-based creator born in Hong Kong and raised in the UK. Darren is the founder of Rise United Football Club, an ESEA football community based in London, and the co-founder of 1314 Family Style, a London-based creative studio. Under his creator name Humothy, Darren is also a talented documentary photographer. Drawing inspiration from his multicultural background, Darren's lens explores the aesthetics found in the intersection of East and West. He tells stories that are often overlooked. Darren, welcome to Eastern Honeys.
Woo! Yeah,
Can you please introduce yourself in your own words after that?
Yeah, my name's Darren. I go by the name of Humothy, and I'm a photographer, mostly in documentary. And I'm also a co-founder of 1314 Family Style. We're a creative agency looking to celebrate or looking to find tastefulness in the kind of intersection between East and West. So how do we not use kind of like Chinese dragons for Lunar New Year? Like how do we find ways to be more tasteful in how we celebrate in a kind of creative world? Also, Rise United is the kind of the product of Family Style, how we use this concept and kind of celebrate this cultural heritage and intersection between kind of our heritage together in the Western kind of community society as well.
But in terms of your creative identity, you're a photographer, a community builder, working at the intersection of so many different projects.
Yeah.
How do you begin to define yourself when someone says, what do you do?
I can't. Depends on who I talk to, Most of the time, I'm just telling them, I run a football community. Depends on who I talk to, how deep I can go in terms of a conversation. Most of the time, don't really have to tell so much because people like you guys, Lorenzo, will probably tell our stories way more. Yeah, I'll say I'm a photographer by trade. Take pictures for the ESEA community, probably what I go for most of the time.
Do you find that you're more guarded with who you share things to, depending on who's asking?
Guarded and laziness. It's a rabbit hole, man. Once I start telling people what I do, I have to kind of go on for a while, and I'm just quite lazy, I just don't really want to tell them too much. But I'm a photographer, and when they want to know more and learn more from Instagram, stuff like that, we start a conversation because if I pitch this every day, I think, like your voice, it will just crack.
Yeah.
And also being freelance, I realize that because we do so many things to simply, because of necessity, but also of interest, being largely now in this space, in this like junction of like the creative like sphere, we do it all, A, out of necessity, and B, because it interests us as creatives. And I feel that like sometimes when I am speaking to someone or like introducing what I do, like my partner is always like, you should have like a line that you share, an elevator pitch, but it is really difficult.
Yeah, it depends. Most of the time people ask me what I do, I say I sell dreams, Just makes it easier. So just like, hey, it is essentially what it is, it's been an ambition of ours, so these are the dreams we're selling, but it comes to reality some days, isn't it?
It does. And speaking about that, like, this is one of our dreams becoming a reality right now, like having Eastern Honeys.
Someone's got to sell it,
Did you have dreams growing up in London?
Yeah, it is, for sure. I grew up in Hong Kong, born in Hong Kong, moved here when I was 9 years old. And there's definitely like a level of culture shock in terms of what it means to be, I don't know, let's say Asian, what it means to assimilate, what it means to being back home. There's some massive cultural differences between the two. The dream is actually how to bring everyone together, and kind of Rise become the kind of mechanism to kind of bring everyone together in that scene, So yeah, that is the dream. And how do we elevate that? It's like another dream that there's always a bigger hill in it. So so there's always a bigger dream. So we're always dreaming.
Do you think that duality of being born in Hong Kong, raised in the UK, do you think that has shaped your creative work? And how does the influence of multiple worlds shape your very unique perspective as a photographer, as a founder?
So I grew up in Hong Kong, right? Born in Hong Kong, didn't expect to be here, ended up here at 9 years old. So a lot of my foundation, a lot of my feelings, thinking, and the way I think is in Cantonese Chinese. And there's a lot of proverbs, a lot of words, a lot of sentences, poems, movies that really resonates in that emotion that I resonate with a lot, but also assimilating or growing up in the UK also have a different feeling and lifestyle to it. So it's really trying to find the best of both worlds, or what inspires me in both worlds and those philosophy and cultures. Yeah, so I feel it through those kind of unique perspective. I don't think there's a lot of people like me that has that, fluency, I guess, like to understand like both and enjoy both. You know, I love the local grime scene, for example, to, you know, I really like Hong Kong's rap music, to, you know, old movies, you know, like these kind of worlds kind of bring all the things together, become who we are. And how do we explore more into like Filipino movies to like Thai movies and stuff like that? It's really trying to do, and find also like American movies. So how would all of that kind of like bring together and find the best of kind of both worlds in that way? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
To quote Hannah Montana, best of both worlds.
Yeah, think of that, but
Hovis, best of both.
Yeah.
In terms of being able to harness fluency in multiple cultures, do you think that serves you with challenging stereotypes and elevating the sense of tastefulness and moving away from things that are so on the nose, like you were saying, a dragon for Lunar New Year, because you are well versed in conversations on both sides?
Absolutely, I feel so. I think it's context, you know. It's about how much you know about a culture. It's exposure as well, you know, like a lot of things. Let's put movies or music, for example. A lot of music and movies are on Netflix or Spotify. And on those, there's always a level of exposure where some artists are not ever going to be on that platform. And where do you find those other platforms? And those other platforms usually are on Eastern platforms or Asian platforms or other platforms you won't see. And those are these big corporations cannot pay for or have no access to. And those are mostly the kind of cultural moving pieces a lot of the times. And those fluencies, basically, how do you be resourceful about those places and where do you find those? And speaking to people who expose you to those kind of spots, I think this where the cultural relevance is. Culture is like mostly made by people, right? So who are the people who lead the culture, and how do you get to know these people to give you those kind of resources or information? And how do you kind of use those information to kind of reinterpret it into your own style or your voice kind of thing?
Speaking on your voice and style, your photography is often described as bridging cultural gaps.
Yeah.
And when you're behind the camera, what kind of stories are you drawn to?
Right now is always like diaspora stories. So I think what we did for the Rise United jersey, big shout out to big shout out to MSG, big shout out to the community actually. Looking at these is crazy.
They are works of art.
Yeah. And they're so good. Yeah.
Everyone worked on this, you know. Sidetracking a little bit how we made this is we work with MSG, so 888 MSG, so designer Wei, for director, who also worked a lot of like behind the scenes for like March United, Eastern Marches, or the art direction. We worked them really closely. And last year we decided to make kits. We have connects to kind of make this together, like through factories, manufacturing and designing. So we decided to kind of work with every captains of or designers of each nation to kind of ask them a workshop on what does it mean to be your culture? You know, what is that? You know, what symbolizes your culture? What symbolizes your team? You know, this is a good example of Hello Kitty. You got, you know, the Nintendo logos kind of, and also like Gundam as well to really like shape what it means to be, let's say, Japanese. Obviously, sometimes on the nose, sometimes not. It's quite fun to kind of play around that as well. But we do that with every nation. It's been really, really fun, you know, like everyone's been, every time they go on a pitch, they feel like some level of cultural pride. And that's what we want to kind of bring to everyone as well.
So you are essentially a storyteller, and you storytell through these shirts, you storytell through your photography. I
started as a street photographer. So most of the time, me and my friends used to walk around, find rooftops, explore illegal places, take pictures of it, document it, show the world. Can we show this? Yeah.
This is such like early Insta 2016.
Yes, love it.
The rooftop thing.
Yeah, this is where community started, right? Like there's a global community called Street Dreams, and that's where they bring all the digital photographers together, and they print their work into like in real life, and they throw like exhibitions. That's kind of like one of the first kind of communities to kind of get sense of. But anyway, so taking pictures of like the streets, understanding the people is really how I kind of develop my skills. I think leading on like kind of 10, 15 years in, I like to tell stories of like personal stories or people's stories, or how do we use photography to talk about or challenge kind of like, you know, social norms or people, or, you know, I always ask myself what is the function of a camera, right? Like, do you document or do you make something beautiful? You know, do you want to make people think, or you always make people think, but like, what do you want to make people think about, you know? And my style is really about what the realness is. I feel like a lot of times in social media is about what is the most beautiful, what's the most happiest. I like to challenge that and say what's real, you know? From kind of like Grenfell Tower that I documented to Euros finals with England and Italy at Wembley, you know, stuff like that. It's really about like, yeah, I got this camera, I want to tell you what you don't really see. Instead, it's more fun, I think.
That's a really interesting perspective, because I work in photography as well, but more travel.
Yeah.
And I'm always really aware of what you're saying about showing the real side, like the gritty, the actual authentic Grenfell. I mean, incredible work. Here in London, the lens takes on such a different form when you're traveling, because I'm very aware of, say, if I'm shooting in the Philippines, poverty porn, I never want to have the lens like exploit a moment. And showing the real is also, you have to be really aware of like class and implication. And for example, shooting in Hong Kong last year, I was like, monster building is incredible, but I'm also really aware that's like social welfare housing. And I feel like the fluency is really important, especially like if you're shooting in London and you are going to Grenfell or something. It's like walking the line to make that story champion and empower the subject rather than taking away their agency. So it's just like a bit voyeuristic.
Yeah, I think most of the time, I think it's great that you think about the kind of like duality of it, right? And when you say the monster building, the most fun thing about the monster building is actually the people in there. Like if you actually get to know the people, they're actually really nice. And everywhere you go, even Grenfell, like I think the medium of being a photographer between you and whoever you're taking pictures of is actually building that relationship between you and them. As a photographer, you want to genuinely feel that connection with them. When that result becomes like a moment of exchange, a moment of, you know, a quality moment, us sharing these moments together, or give them the camera, let them take pictures of us, you know, like those are the connections, right? Like those are the real pictures, you know, rather than that, this is what I'm taking pictures of, I'm helping X, Y, and Z, you know, like it's not really about that, right? It's about that.
The relationship. That's so true. Because I get so angry when I see Western tourists go to the islands, for example, and they're just like taking all these pictures of cute kids in like places, and like no one's coming to like the Key Stage 3 playground here and taking picture of the kids, and you'll get arrested.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're shooting in like Notting Hill. So it's just interesting, like how again, it's like context.
I'm just like learning that you are really inspired by like the city and like the streets and the people and like grime.
Streets, man. That's why I'm Humothy, innit? It's the street name.
Yeah, what's Humothy?
No. Why did I go down that road? No, it's just a nickname I got growing up at uni.
Did you hum a lot?
It's just my really close friends just found out my real Chinese name and kind of like customized it into a name that sounds very familiarized and very friendly. Yeah, it's more of a name that reminds me of like good times at uni, reminds me of a name that, who I really am growing up, like that playfulness, you know, really finding that. As you grow older, it's really hard to...
You lose the playfulness.
Yeah, that name reminds me of it, you know, still trying to be like fun, still trying to be like adventurous all the time, you know, Humothy really like hones onto that part of who I am kind of thing, really. As a photographer, again, like I do a lot of like, I don't know, I study a lot of street photography, stuff like that. And one of the photographers I've said, if, you know, the whole point of you being a photographer is behind the camera, right? Like, I believe in that, you know, I want to create good photos. Doesn't matter who I look like, you know, I just want to make good work. But like everything, I'm not doing this because I want to be in front of camera. I want to do this because I want to make this happen. I don't think I like to be in front of the camera because I want to tell people what I'm doing. Does that make sense? Just want to make it happen, you know, like we're busy with like Rise, busy with family style, busy with, you know, myself. But I value like real genuine connections with people. Yeah, we're still like really amazing friends, you know, in our spare time. As much as you don't know me on that digital world, in real life, I'm quite very genuine, I guess. I'm selling myself. I'm very genuine.
I'm very I promise. Yeah. Speaking on your like different endeavors, or like community groups, like you said, Rise being one of them. Rise is a East and Southeast Asian football club based in London, mixed genders, and a space for ESEA representation, championing the community. What inspired you to found Rise or co-found Rise? I've
always been playing football. Football is like a way of assimilating into this culture. Yeah, coming here to the UK, first thing I enjoyed, I just love football, just enjoy football. Yeah, Rise came really naturally. One of my best friends just used to run a football league and he asked me to join his league and I said, your team is crap. I don't want to join your team.
I want to know the team.
It's someone from my school. It's just a crap team. I didn't enjoy playing with them and he said to me, there's a spot. If you can fill the team in 5 days, do it. So I just rang up. So that's post-COVID. Just start meeting like David, Mr. Margin, start meeting Thierry, everyone. Just didn't know they play football. I just start bringing every one of them, go, do you want to play football? Even people from uni that I haven't met who's Asian for like 5 years ago, I'm like, bro, like I need you right now. But I'm trying to build this team right now. Do you want to play? Some were skeptical. Some called me back a few days after and go, I'm in, let's go. You know, it felt like a Ocean's 11 kind of moment, you know?
I love that.
Yeah. Kind of came through. Then, you know, we just started playing. At first, we really want to recruit like women or other gender than men, but it's just difficult. It's very, very difficult. So we play with a bunch of guys from us guys playing the league week in, week out and just get absolutely battered. And yeah, things just started kind of rolling and moving. And I think just the idea of me wanting or liking to bring everyone together, it's just my natural kind of like, as you get older, you know your talent and what you like and what you're good at. So my thing is always like, you like bringing people together. So like football is like a great way to bring everyone together. It makes sense because it's one of the biggest sports in the UK. And I love running around. I just never stop running around. I love the idea. I like the philosophy behind football and how it can build a lifestyle for it, you know, like, yeah, I always refer how we work as Rise or as Family Style or as who we are, as like a creative midfielder, you know, like if life is like a football game, right? Where do you play? What's your style? You know? So if Rise is a creative midfielder to bring everyone together and like make sure our partners can score or our partners can defend, like, where do we stand? You know, how does that work? You know, I really, really think about it a lot of times.
That's so interesting. Creative midfielder.
Yeah.
Okay, sports analogy.
Yeah.
Something we spoke about with Nicole Choi is how
Albasian.
Albasians, I see. Is that football culture can sometimes be quite hostile and unwelcoming in the UK. So a two-part question. Number one, have you faced any challenges in carving out EC representation in the UK football scene? And number two, what was it like being an Asian man who loves football growing up in Britain?
I think grassroots football in general just have a challenge. You know, it's not just like us. I tend to not think too much about, you know, what is it like being Asian in this scene. Thankfully, we do have really good like Asian footballers from like even male or women's football. Yeah, I think the same challenges as everyone else really. And hostility. I think, yeah, there will be everywhere, you know, like racism is everywhere. So I tend to ignore it and go, whatever, you know, like if that's how you think and that's what it is. It doesn't stop us from being creative, doesn't stop us having fun, you know, like, doesn't stop us having amazing dinners as a team together all the time, you know. If anything, it brings us together. But that doesn't mean, I think those kind of hostility and challenges, it's more on the person speaking than our problem, you know. So I kind of like,
that's refreshing.
Yeah, I don't really think about that, you know, like
that's your problem.
Yeah, it's not like
yeah.
I'm having fun, but you got to stop me from having fun, you know. That's so stupid, you know, like so yeah, most of the time, yeah, of course, but yeah, even everywhere you kind of go, you know, our players will, when you play more like I don't know, competitive games with like other, like more open kind of football games. Yeah, of course we get that. We hear that. I think it's like how to combat it, how to how to report it at times as well. I think we need more reporting in that case. Work with On Your Side. I don't know if you guys know about them.
No, what's it called?
On Your Side. On Your Side is like some level of helpline, some sort of ESEA. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. I don't know. So I don't know too much about it, but we're working with them quite closely in terms of what we have trouble with right now of the ESEA scene is we don't report enough of these abuses and these problems that we have on a day-to-day. So we have no statistics to fight back against what's going on. So On Your Side's kind of main goal and project is to actually increase the number of actual happenings of what's going on and get it reported. They do helplines as well and care, to talk to you about, how to combat stuff like that. And that's one of the main challenges with us in the ESEA scene is we just need to make sure if we do have those, we need to report it. And that's what we're trying to work on as well.
Why do you think there's a lack of reporting?
I think it's a culture, like we're kind of keeping a lot in terms of like what we don't say, yeah. And also the resource, the exposure, like when I told you guys about kind of On Your Side, no one really knows. So I think, just really need to like tell a bit more stories of what's going on. But yeah, I think snitches get stitches, isn't it? So I think we're just scared.
Like it's almost educating your family, your friends and the aunties and uncles that it is.
Yeah. It's great to have an actual organization that supports that though, because even like in our world where we're on set in agencies fielding microaggressions, when we do get to the point where we're like work up the cojones to report something, often the backlash falls on us. We don't have like safeguarding to protect us emotionally. So I can very well see how people are just like, I'm just going to move ahead.
Yeah.
On the topic of tastemaking, it's a complete buzzword now. What does tastemaking mean to you? And do you think we're in this new era of cultural fusion? Or is it still gatekept?
I don't think about it as like a cultural fusion. Didn't think about gatekeeping either. Tastemaking for me is the people who have deep knowledge of whatever it is, whether it's culture or the people or connections or knowing. I think, as a creative now, we get inspired to create from what's been made. And knowledge is power at this point, I think, as a creative, like we're learning what's good that has been made and kind of push that path along is probably what I feel like tastemaking is. I didn't know it's a buzzword actually. I had no idea. I just been having conversations with someone like Jambo, for example. We talk a lot about how to pioneer in some ways, or how to just be authentically different, I guess. What does that mean? Like as much as, dubstep is popular, how do we have a new I don't know, perspective on it, or photography, or anything, football, stuff like that. I don't think, how do you gatekeep tastemaking? I guess, right? And I think just, again, like how to be resourceful with what you have. I just like spending my time looking at, like watching really old, like Asia-made movies, and that's where I get my inspiration from, for example, But yeah.
Have you read the book Blink?
Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of him.
Huge fan. So something I literally always bring up is this like thin slicing.
Yeah.
Where someone who has these layers of deep knowledge and extensive foundation in what is good, what is tasteful, can instantly look at something and be like, yes or no.
Yeah.
So it's the way that you have so much fashion and art direction knowledge that you can look at an ensemble or a set and be like, that's off. Within a second. For me, I always think AI just doesn't have taste. No. And all of these people like rendering art, prompting words, all of the things, they just don't, it doesn't have the capacity to be tasteful.
Absolutely.
So what's your thoughts on like AI as someone in the creative industries?
I think tastefulness doesn't come with perfection, isn't it? I think perfection is everywhere, from a culture especially, like, you have to get all A's, you have to be a doctor, you have to do this, like, why do you have to be so perfect? What is life is when everything is so good and nice, like, I really like the idea of like making mistakes. I encourage that for my team, encourage that for my people around me. I think that makes you those failures actually shaped you as a more prominent art, like creative director or whatever you want to call it, you know.
The humanity.
Yeah, yeah, man, AI will not make mistakes, but we can, you know. That's a win for us, you know. Like those wins, you know, those mistakes is actually making you a more personal kind of branding, whatever you want to call it, right? Like mine is definitely make mistakes. Like most of the stuff is never perfect. Like we don't mind that either, you know. From AI, I guess if you use it right, for sure, it's great. With the right context, with the right strategy, you know, like for research, great, you know. For creating, yeah, I guess so. If you want to save time on like a commercial project, yeah, why not, you know? But if a personal thing, why do you want to save time on a personal project? Isn't it great to spend more time on a personal project, you know? So it develops you as a person even more.
I always think of them as not as mistakes as well, but as lessons.
For sure, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm always like, at least I tried and I've learned something from a mistake or a failure. I've like really been unpacking what is failure and what does failure mean to me. Because so many things maybe I've done in my career maybe could be perceived as quote unquote failures, but I don't think so. It's a journey and I'm really happy to be on this ride.
Yeah. Jamila Jamil said on her pod, shout out the iWay pod, not mates with Jamila, but we're here if you want to chat. She said that failing means you tried, and it's noble to have tried. Because if you never fail, then you've never tried, and that's the worst place to be.
Yeah, that's the thing, you know, a lot of people maybe like what we're doing in the ESEA kind of communities, like we said, you know, challenges of like, why are you guys doing, you know, making football teams or making, you know, this and the other, but even though it's not good or whatever, at least we're doing it, you know, like people who are talking about it, you know, they're probably still talking about it, you know. I don't mind people trying. I don't mind people making things happen. And that's more effort than a lot of other people like this, you know, this whole team, you know, making it happen. We're trying, you know, at least we're trying. And that's going to be more timeless than the people talking about why are they trying, you know?
Yeah. What do you think the most rewarding moment in your career with Rise or 1314 Family Style or all the miscellaneous community initiatives that you support and the people that you are supporting? What stands out the most to you as of now?
So much. I think to work with my friends is probably one of my favorite things, you know, like they just get it. And I have never been in a spot and a place in my life where people trust my vision, even though the vision is absolutely insane. People still believe in it, you know? Yeah, it's like, people always think Darren's crazy, but yeah, probably. I started to realize I'm pretty crazy, but you know, you guys still believe in it. You know?
You've got stamina, I've got to say.
Surrounding the circle where we're all quite similar in terms of our vision, we all have the same goals, you know? And we can work together on it. Yeah, like, you know, Josh, Lorenzo, David, you guys, you know, there's like so many other people that we haven't really talked about, you know, that also are doing it and trying really hard at it and not feeling competitive over it, you know. That's such a nice place to be. You know, we don't feel like we're taking things of each other. Instead, we're actually like really working together like a football team. Way! You know, yeah, for sure. Like, how do we pass this ball along constantly and score together? You know, that's what we're really trying to do. But yeah, that's a really good moment. You know, like Nations Cup, for example, the last one with the kits and everything is an amazing moment. Seeing each nation have their own kit and they all get ready and play with each other. To like monumental moments, like hanging out with like Manchester United, you know, at Manchester United, you know, seeing like one of my boys, Jambo, playing a set and it's absolutely turn up to, you know, all of that, like DJ Love, like wearing a Rise shirt, you know, all of that is absolutely insane. But yeah, the feeling of like the friends and the family are working together towards a bigger goal is probably how I feel, you know, most to me, you know.
I've got to say, like attending last year's Margins United Festival and seeing like DJ Love wearing like a Sinigang t-shirt, jersey, like performing into like a sold out crowd at Earth Hackney. I was just like, what the fuck is happening? It's crazy. It's like, and Burnout as well, which is like music from back home. And everyone was just like vibing, literally just like having fun.
Absolutely.
It was just like, especially having gone out clubbing and like in East when I was younger. And not having, I mean, just like our culture not being represented, like in clubbing. It was.
I was thinking about this the other day, just such a dearth of representation growing up, like genuinely in London. It was like, yeah, nothing. And it's so nice that that's a given now moving forward. Like you say, our kids are just going to have these spaces as a given.
Yeah, but it's also like related to commercial world, right? Like 10 years ago, there's no, Jackie Chan. You know, for example, there's not a lot of, like, he's like a comedic martial artist. So our spotlight isn't really on the serious side, you know? But now we have like more diversity, like Shogun winning like mad awards, Squid Game, I don't know, Parasite,
doing it.
you know, like Blackpink, all of that, you know, there's so much from the commercial world that kind of trickles down to like the grassroots, what we're doing, that really shows representation and shows like, from like a commercial perspective, it shows commercial value, you know?
Yeah.
That's basically what we're trying to do, right?
Well, that's something we've been saying. It's like, guys, EC communities have serious buying power. There's a huge group. If we're thinking just economic standpoint, there's so much money here and you don't want any part of it.
So I've been doing a lot of research on this. I've been talking to a lot of companies and PRs and agencies about this. One of the biggest issues is probably data, right? There's, if you put in your census, your own data, if you look at kind of other communities or other ethnic groups, there is like Indian, Black, Africa, and but in the ESEA is Chinese and Asian other. So there's no data here, you know? How do we tell them that we have buying power, you know? Like it's a bit backwards at the moment, right? Like in what ways can we find those data? And that's what we really need to do right now is like my data is showing for sure, like we have loads of buying power. We care about fashion, you know, we care about skincare, we care about music, you know, there is a lot of buying power, but how do we show this to these people to say this is worth it? You know, I think that's the biggest issue we have right now. A lot of them are too busy. A lot of them have no access to data. So again, Voices ESEA, you know about those guys, Abby's really trying to work on that at the moment, finding funding to like really change that kind of perspective at the moment in the ESEA scene as well. So yeah, I think one of the main issues is not that we don't have commercial value. I think as an investor, you call it, where are my data to back up that I can get my returns? I think it's the main issue.
There is so much missing data. And something in my research from like 20 years ago even, especially the Filipino community, there's such a huge migrant group that is basically moving behind closed doors in domestic homes, in shipping, just the invisible fabric of Britain, collateral damage, etc. I won't get into it. You know, there's broad statistics from the government saying migrant workers tend to be the most abused. And then it's like you constantly have to be like, okay, well, Filipinos are one of the largest migrant worker groups, but if they're also the most abused, then we can put two and two together here. And then it's constantly having to patchwork things.
It's all assumptions, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just like, how do we not make an assumption and make it fact? You know, is one of the things we have to work on.
We spoke to Dr. Anna Sulan Masing, who wrote this new book, Chinese and Any Other Asian, basically about the heinous lack of specificity for Asia. And she was basically like, to get this data, it requires a drastic and radical change in the way we gather and also process data, like internally.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a big task. Someone invest in us. We can make it faster.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what it is all about. It's all down to money, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
But then also the will to train, because it's like, okay, you can sit there and write, I am Hong Kong, Chinese, Malaysian, but who on the back end in HMRC is going to like type that up? In terms of building communities, and you're also like a brand guardian for a lot of different projects, I guess, because you're like, okay, very thoughtful about taste, very thoughtful about what you provide to your communities. What are the kind of questions that you ask yourself before aligning with a partner?
Am I having fun?
Oh, how nice.
Yeah. I think essentially, as a creative, I think Rick Rubin, have you read his book, Ways of Creative? I think it's what it's called. So whenever we make something, I always ask everyone, do you feel comfortable making this? Are you having fun with it? And kind of that's it really. Like if we have fun, it shows that this is fun, you know, and we're not making money out of this, you know, like this, if we're not making money out of this and it's not fun, then why are we doing it? You know, like it just baffles me a lot of the times, you know, like I just wondered if we're not getting paid, then make sure we're having the best out of it, you know. I think it's just let them have an opportunity to say, you cannot do this if you don't want to. I think it's the best option out for everyone, you know. The last thing I want is people helping out feeling like they are exploited, feeling like they are, you know, too tired for this or don't have time for it, and we make them do it. Like that's just not what we're trying to do here. You know, nothing is urgent here.
In fashion, we always say we're not saving lives. It's all good. On saying like that, what piece of advice would you give to other British-born or immigrant creatives trying to carve a space for themselves?
Depends what they want to do, I guess. You have to be crazy, man. You have to be pretty crazy, I think.
Or you have to love it.
Yeah, I think I love it so much, you know, like there's always a level of sacrifice, like what do you want to sacrifice in your life, you know, like what do you want to give up?
The crazy thing's true, because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of creatives go blindly into things, and you have to be a bit delulu and naive, because otherwise you'll be super aware of how much work and graft and challenge there is, and you just have to
go for it.
Just do it.
I think when we're surrounded by a lot of crazies, that's why. The whole team, family style was crazy. Rise, yeah. Rise is more, less crazy, but still like very ambitious people. Being creative is show your passion in terms of the creative world. You know, if you want to be creative, you know, what drives you as creative? What do you want to change? You know, what craft do you have, or like what skill set do you have, kind of thing. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, as a creative, you are very emotional, and how do you turn these emotions into a medium that speaks for what you're trying to say is what I always give, you know, like everyone can be a photographer, everyone could be an artist, you know, like what can you say within this medium is probably the next level up. Rapper, you know, for example, same thing, you know. Community-wise, that's a hard one, man. Community-wise, advice, join other communities first, you know, like what does that look like? I didn't do Rise because I just thought community, you know, I've been growing up in communities. I grew up in the UK, and my school was like the second oldest like army cadet force in the UK. So I joined that for like 8 years. So that's a really cool kind of youth community that I've kind of experienced. Then I help out, or I was involved in like youth organizations, YC UK, shout out to these guys, like young media company, production company, that run by the youth in South London, to architectural based kind of communities like Sound Advice. There's so many more, like Street Dreams I mentioned. It's like just really like get involved in communities and understand like what it looks like. Yeah, kind of ESEA as well that I spend a lot of time in, you know, like what do they look like and how do you see yourself starting something similar but in your own version, I think.
As someone who's a reader, consumes cinema, film, clearly very thoughtful about it, what are some of your biggest inspirations?
Oh my God.
Filmmakers or...
There's so much. So Family Style, when we started, we did like an exercise on the people that inspired us and the things that inspired us. There's so many. Miyazaki, for example. Jeff Staples, Kendrick Lamar, Jambo.
Jumbo. You mean Jumbo?
Jambo, the rapper.
The greatest rapper alive.
Director-wise, I can't put a name to it. The person who made Old Boy, I forgot his name, but his stuff has been inspirational recently. Have you watched? Last night I watched Decision to Leave. I want to say Wong Kar-wai, you know, but obvious answer. Don't know where to start, man. Don't know where to start. A lot. Malcolm Gladwell, for example, definitely one of the top for me. But all dudes, man, Jesus, what's going on? My mum.
Shout out, mum.
Bugeisha?
Bugeisha Club for sure, man. Like community-wise, yeah, way bigger. Like Eastern Margin, Bugeisha Club, Asians, even like Sound Advice, even like, yeah, like you guys, you know, there's this like New Territories. I know Lee from day, you know, me and him through like an ESEA art exhibition in 2016 maybe. But yeah, or globally as well, there's so many people in the world that we feel it's inspiring. Ichiro Oda, you know, the guy who wrote One Piece. Like, biggest inspiration, you know. Like, sounds like nerdy right now, but anyone know about One Piece? Thank you. Yeah, like if you can write a novel for 25 years straight, that is crazy. Some people can't even.
Got to be crazy.
Yeah, like. Yeah, I think people who are inspired by are always the people who just doesn't sleep and work like 20 hours a day, this is terrible example to be looking up to, you know?
Which leads us nicely on to our next question.
So speaking of people who don't sleep and work too much, how do you prevent creative burnout with all these different projects that you work on?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time cooking really nice food for myself every day, looking like, what should I... Yes,
cooking.
Cooking.
Eating.
Eating, exactly. I think one of the main reasons why I run Rise because it's an exercise, you know, like there's levels of dopamine, there's levels of serotonin, endorphin, stuff like that. How do you create that? Through physical touch, exercise, communities, you know, stuff like that are really beneficial for your mental health and your physical health. Rise is a solution for that. This year, I spent a lot of time meditating. Twice a week, I wake up before I start my job, exercise, push up, whatever. Watch out Hinge.
Are you on Hinge?
No.
Slide in the DMs. The mysterious Humothy.
Meditates twice a day.
Meditates twice a day. You know, yeah.
What do you do? Just like see your thoughts go by kind of thing, or clear your head, or
carving out time for myself, you know. I spent a lot of time thinking selflessly about the communities, my team, what can we do to elevate, but I don't really have time for myself. So I think like just close your eyes, sit in a quiet room and just let things go, you know, like breathing like we did earlier on, like having those moments. Why am I here? What's next? You know, what's deep about life, you know, like nothing is that deep in the day, you know, really think about it. Just really like relax a little bit, you know, like, you know, I'm always listening to music. That's the only time I'm not listening to stuff and like get inspiration from, you know, like how do I not, you know, as much as there's so much information nowadays, it's actually good to actually carve time to actually do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that.
With being selfless, honestly, like community building and leadership is a form of activism, and it's really a choice and a commitment that you make.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel pressure to always have your shit together?
Yeah. I was inspired by being in an Army Cadet Force for like the last 8 years. To be a good leader, you have to set the right example. So every decision I make or everything I think about is about how to set the right example for people to follow. So yeah, I like to write poems. I like to read books. You know, I like to meditate. You know, I like to eat. Wake up 5.
You single ladies.
Yeah, it's not a lot of time just like really thinking about, that, like what can we do to inspire the next generation of leaders, you know? Even like with Rise, we did a Lunar New Year, we did a football day, we mix everyone up and we actually choose the youngest people in the team to be captains, throw them in the deep end and go, you know how we feel now, you know? Like really give them an opportunity to do that so that we can grow more leaders and set the right example for everyone. But that's the mentality thing, you know, like how do we, of course there's pressure, but there's pressure in everything that we do in life, you know, it's just what you choose to do. But this one is fine, you know, it's good that we can inspire others. And I don't feel that till today. Everyone always talks to me about it. Even like my birthday several days ago, there's a lot of really lovely voice notes, messages, but it feels surreal, you know, like I didn't think about doing that for like people. I just feel like this is the right thing to do, you know? By the end of it, it's like a lot of really emotional messages, cards that make me feel, oh, okay, I am going the right path, I think, you know?
That's lovely.
And when it comes from a place of love and a place of fun and joy, I always feel that it's always better.
I envisioned if I'm an old job at 40 and I'm still writing, hey, John, hope this email finds you well, I think I'll just quit, you know.
One of the books I read that really changed my life at 21 was this book called Die Empty by Todd Henry.
Okay.
And the first chapter is so jarring. It's like the world is filled with graveyards with bodies buried with their full potential still in them. And he's like, your goal is to die empty and unleash everything into the world so that the time comes around and your potential is in the world and you leave empty. And I feel like that's been really pivotal for how I've moved ever since like becoming an adult.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So like one of the things I want to do when I was younger as a photographer is like take loads and loads of pictures, and my deathbed, I'll put like a photo book together.
Love.
So like, what are these moments that I have in my life? You know, like really, really, really resonates with what you're trying to do is like, what can I release? And it's how do you live forever in a way that is beneficial to the rest of the kind of generation or the future kind of thing, right?
As a visual storyteller, as someone who writes poetry, as someone who reads,
Who meditates.
if you were to write a love letter to Diaspora, what would you say?
Love letter, gee, that's romantic. I'm not quite a romantic person, man. I think I would just be like, it'll be hard love, you know?
Asian.
Yeah. You should be doing this. Younger me. I think a uni me, stop going out so much, man. Vodka ref is not fun, you know?
But it was at the time.
Yeah, it was at the time, you know? I don't, there's not much I can say to my younger self. I think like as I grow older, my mentality changed, and like the things I would tell myself at youngest age, I wouldn't listen to. For example, if I tell myself watch Parasite, I would not watch it. I had no the attention span to even watch a movie at that length or that context. So I can't really tell myself, younger self, that. I have been trying my best all my life, so I can't work any harder.
So maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Stop working so hard.
Stop being so nice. I mean, yeah, I guess it's like be more confident and like say no to stuff. I think it's probably like what I would say to myself. It's like, yeah, how do you like emotionally communicate with the right path to the people? You know, sometimes not everyone's the same, right? It's like really understanding others, and really how to communicate how you feel to other people in a way that doesn't offend them. I think it's
Oh, that's something we didn't bring up. Emotional intelligence seems really important to you. Yeah. Can you just share a little bit about that quickly?
Yeah, like the books I read, podcasts I listen to, I really enjoy the idea of like social engineering, like what that means. So like people like, you know, MBTI, like Myers-Briggs to all of that, like don't listen to 100%, but like understanding the concept is really interesting. Like everyone has a different way of absorbing, or like love language, for example, right? Like everyone's got a different way to communicate how they like someone or how they receive something, you know? And I think that's so important to know every single person and know how to communicate with them. And that makes it more efficient as a team. And like, I think like meditating is really like, you know, helping that idea of emotional intelligence, right? Like we had this conversation about, you know, we get challenged in the kind of football world and people having racism, stuff like that, you know, like that's the level of emotional intelligence. Like if we don't feel like it's a problem for us, then it's not a problem for us, you know? I think that is probably the key factor to how we lead properly. You know, a lot of the times that we get angry about people doing things wrong, that's not your way, we have an emotional response. But most of the time, let's step back and think about how to deal with it. Like we, you know, what we do, there's so much, is it bickering? I don't know. Like there's always like there's always like private conversations that's happening that is stressful, but we don't talk about it. That's actually quite mess up your head, right? But we have to deal with it in a way that people don't know we're dealing with it, as well as we're dealing with it properly so that you and the stakeholder, whoever you talk to, is on a good page, right? And that's very difficult to challenge or to live by. Like people community, ESEA community, for example, most of the work you think they're doing lunch clubs or they're doing fundraisers, but they're helping so much in the background for the immigrants on how to personal problems, domestic issues, how to get an Oyster card. You know, there's certain problems they didn't talk about and they're still really inspiringly positive. So we take a lot from them. Does that make sense? Am I saying too much?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And it does require emotional intelligence to hold all of those things in place. Yeah. It requires vast amounts of patience and also grace to hold all of those different concepts.
Yeah, it's a lot of juggling around. Like you can't, you can be angry depending on the person. If the person can have to receive it angrily, then yeah. But about 80% of people probably wouldn't like that, you know. Some people like to be communicated directly. Some people don't like that. So you have to, you know, so really weaving around those spaces. It's like, how do you navigate across politics, right? Like that's genuinely what it is, you know, like Ronnie Chang said something in a podcast, a hype piece, or I don't remember where it was. It's like, if you can navigate through the politics, you're most likely to win most battles, you know, like most of the time it's about that for us. It sounds so dark right now, like the politics thing, you know, but it's more like about how do we just make sure everyone is happy at the same time. And that's probably something that requires a lot of emotional intelligence. and setting the right example as well. If we can all communicate honestly with each other, I think the world will be easier. I don't think necessarily we're a better place though. It'll be easier.
I think it will be.
Yeah.
Oh, and a better place too. No, thank you so much for sharing during this episode and your like vulnerability and like your honesty. It's just like great to hear, especially coming from a pillar of the community.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to meet you in person.
I know, right?
Finally. And also talking to you just really anchors all of the communities you're across, all the work that you do. It's very transparent and authentic.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for showing up as yourself in all those spaces.
Thank you for having me. You know, like it's really, really interesting. It's very hard to define myself in this space because I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about it. So like coming here was a bit nerve-wracking because I have to really like have some level of pillar or part to say like, this is what we're doing, this is how we do it. And most of the time we're just so busy focusing on like, let's make this happen for the community rather than like, okay, let's step back and really reviewing and feeding back into like, okay, what am I actually do? Yeah. So this is great, you know, to kind of like some checkpoints, but like, okay, this is how far we've come, you know, like what you're wearing is already like a great example, right? Like we've done so much over the last 18 months that we don't have time to really think about it, you know, and now it's great to really like shout out to everyone, shout out to like the family, shout out to the community and everyone else, you know, just been great being here, you know, thank you so much.
And lastly, please let the people know where to find you, Instagram handles, website, LinkedIn, all the above.
LinkedIn.
Your favorite?
Yeah, Humothy, it's my photography account, HUMOTHY. If you want more of Rise, it's Rise United, RISE_UTD. And Family Style Creative Studio, 1314 Family Style. That's so much, that's a tongue twister. LinkedIn, find me when you find me, man. Like, on Hinge. And thank you.
Thanks, Darren. Well, that's it, folks. Another wonderful episode of Eastern Honeys. Shout out Darren, all the platforms, all the communities, Rise. If you want to support Darren, everything is in his Instagram profile. Thank you for watching, streaming, sharing. Really helps the channel grow. We really appreciate each and every listen and view. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions, drop a comment, slide in the DMs. Our door is always open. And we'll catch you in the next episode.
Maraming salamat.